Vacancy Legal Recruitment, a refreshingly unique and personal talent agency developed specifically for legal. Dedicated to the sector and with extensive experience working across legal services and legal technology, we bridge the gap between your requirements and top-tier legal talent. Get in touch today and say hello at vacancy.co.uk.
You're listening to the Today's Conveyancer podcast, the leading source of information for residential property lawyers in England and Wales. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up to our free newsletter at todaysconveyancer.co.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Hello, welcome along to the latest Today's Conveyancer podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Simon McCrum of McCrum Consulting. Simon, a friend of the podcast, having appeared on it twice before. I was going to say once or twice, but very specifically twice before, because the topic of conversation today is the third in a trilogy of books that you've written, Simon, The Perfect Partner. You've previously written The Perfect Law Firm and The Perfect Lawyer. It's great to have you back on the podcast to explore your final book. Is it your final book?
Oh, it's far from my final book. I'll come back to that. So, David, thank you for having me on again. It's an absolute pleasure to be working with you and the Today group. I'm going to correct something straight away because it's the essence of everything I do. Yes, I have written 3 books. I never planned it that way. I started writing a book which was a confessional about my life in the law as a team leader, as a management team member of a 50 million turnover firm, and then as managing partner of a law firm. And I got a lot right, I got a lot wrong, and I wanted to put it in a book. You called the book there The Perfect Law Firm, but it very specifically isn't the title of the book. It's The Perfect Legal Business. In naming it that, I intended to underline all the mistakes I'd made, because what I think I created was the perfect law firm, but it had a huge dimension missing, and that was the business angle, hence my putting it all together in the first book, The Perfect Legal Business. So you stand corrected.
I stand correct. Well, nice to have you on the podcast, as I say. So go back, tell me about the first 2 books, brief synopsis. You've done podcasts on them. I'll signpost them in the write-up. But you've done 2 previous books. Give us a quick flavour of what those 2 books covered.
And if I frame it in how things went for me, I was the managing partner of a law firm. I dreamt of delivering an amazing service to clients. I dreamt of delivering an amazing life to my co-owners and all of our people, and I concentrated on those dimensions. But in fact, I came to see all too late, because the walls were closing in, I came to see there was a third dimension. And I now see that, in fact, there's a fourth dimension that has crept up on us all and is now catching a lot of law firms out. So I now see law firms as a 4-legged stool, and that comes across in my first book, The Perfect Legal Business, and in my second book, which I'll come on to. The 4 legs of the stool are, number 1, clients. Of course you need clients, but it's not a one-way street. Yes, we have to deliver an amazing service. Well, that's technical law, but it's also service, it's communication, it's what I call push and tell. Push the case and tell the client where we're up to. Don't be a black hole, but you need good lawyers as well delivering that. So that's the first leg of the stool, the clients. Next, you need colleagues. A bad lawyer, whether they're bad at communication or bad at law or bad at attitude, they cause untold amount of damage. So we have to have good clients, good colleagues, but we've got to give them something. We've got to give them the culture, the investment, the development. The second leg of the stool, it's really hard running a law firm where people are leaving, and when they leave you can't recruit, so you've got to really get that leg of the stool right. The third, and I missed this, I just didn't take it, hence, and it was the real embryo for my book, my first book, cash. So we've got clients, colleagues, now cash. The walls are always threatening to close in on a law firm. The amount of money, cash, that goes out is literally mind-boggling. And we concentrate on other stuff, don't we? We concentrate on billing, we concentrate on turnover, we concentrate on the top 2. It's all showbiz. We have to have a hard-nosed, cash-based business. And that was the real embryo for book 1. The fourth leg of the stool that has crept up now, and it's very serious for us all, is another C, and it's compliance. You know, you used to get a slap on the wrist, £2,000 fine or something. Now the SRA's already got unlimited fining powers. It just hasn't used them yet. But you see every day or every week, certainly, fines being charged for non-compliance offences in the hundreds of thousands of pounds. That's now a big thing. And again, we used to tick boxes, to be honest, David, back in the old days. Now it's very real. So that was the birth of The Perfect Legal Business, my first book. I hadn't planned on writing a second book, but I could see that I needed to talk to a particular audience. I hoped everyone in a law firm would read the first book, but I then thought, no, actually, the way we arrive at that is by having lawyers behave in a certain way. Business support are now more important than they have ever been in a law firm. But at the end of the day, the lawyer nodding, but actually doing it his or her old way is where the trouble starts. So the second book is focused on the perfect lawyer behaviours, which brings us to my third book, because then everything that I've kind of been carrying at the back of my mind came to the fore as I went on this journey. And what I'm going to use a very 21st, 22nd century phrase now. What I realized, David, is that there's a group in a law firm that dictates success or failure. Yeah, by and large, the lawyers can have an impact in the way that I'd thought, but I came to see there's another group, the key group, the influencers. And that's what they are, and they're called partners. Actually, if I was redesigning it all now, I'd call them the influencers, because they need to influence everybody else in the right way. All too often, they influence people in the wrong way, because they have the power of influence. But let's get them doing the right things themselves and influencing everybody else in the right way, and then the law firm's unstoppable. So I hence the third book, The Perfect Partner, because without that, I mean, what, are you really expecting everyone below partner level to do things in a different way? It's not going to happen.
So I sense this is sort of almost a role model-esque kind of book where you're trying to identify the sorts of behaviours and attitudes that a perfect partner might display within a firm?
Correct. The phrase that is more often used is leadership. It's all about leadership. Leaders influence. To me, those phrases are interchangeable. Partner isn't interchangeable with leader. It's just they are partner. Sorry, that's a title. You get that because your billing's good. Leader is something completely different. The ability to influence. It's got nothing to do with your job title. People down here can be influencers and therefore leaders. And I know many partners that are anything but leaders and never can be because of their behaviors. And if I asked you, I see, David, we've known each other for years. I think, as I believe I am, I think you're a right thinking person. You will be influenced by someone behaving in a certain way, and you will be completely switched off by someone behaving in a certain way. So the perfect partner is in two bits. First, are their behaviors likely to get people to influence them? Do people trust them? Are they toxic? Frankly, are they an idiot? Are they a bully? Are they chaotic? All these things, these are, you find them everywhere in partners, but they...
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
These are, you find them everywhere in partners, but they stop that partner becoming an influencer. So firstly, you need to be an influencer. And then the second thing is, now that I am an influencer, what direction am I going to influence people? Now, let me confess to something. I believe I was an influencer. I saw results, wholesale results. I was told repeatedly, but here's the thing. I'd passed the first test. Where did I lead people? What direction did I influence them in? The answer is the wrong direction, because I missed out the cash leg of the stool. I led everyone to be great colleagues, great at having a great life, and delivering and making people great. I did all of that. I changed clients' lives. My firm, we had this, our whole strategy was a great service, every lawyer, every time. We all delivered on it. It was game changing. We just didn't make any money. We didn't make enough money. We sold Bentley Law for Ford prices. And that shows you the power of the influencer. Because I didn't know about it 10, 20 years ago. I couldn't influence on it. So you've got to get the influencer behaviors, which is the thing you just mentioned. but then use it in a certain direction. And all too many leadership courses out there, leadership speakers, leadership books, they teach you about the first. What do you do with it? You've got to do the right thing.
Let's dive into what the right thing looks like then, Simon. And presumably the right thing is different for each law firm depending on what their ambitions and objectives might be.
Absolutely spot on. And I've worked with hundreds of law firms. I get under the bonnet with them. They're all completely different. They're at a different moment. You know, the owners might have different ages. What's the balance of the outlook? What's the balance of the ownership aspiration? If everyone's got agenda A, then we need to move in that direction. If everyone's got agenda B, you know, growth, investment, long term. So we have to understand the journey. You've got to understand a law firm. And someone once said to me, Simon, you are the law firm whisperer. You have to understand not what they're saying. What are they really saying? That's a skill in itself. Understanding. Then look at their work types. Then look at their geography. And look at the geography in the modern world, because the geography is different for lots of law firms. The geography now is national, sometimes international. So you've got to look at all these things. Look at the people, look at the talent pool in their locality. If the talent pool is a local one, is it a national one? So you've got to look at all these kinds of things. Look at the cash profile of their work, and that will tell you what behaviors you need. That will tell you what you need from the partners. You're quite right. There's no one size fits all.
So how does a book like The Perfect Partner start to unpick all of those things? Are there kind of core principles or core behaviors that you would expect a partner to deliver in order to be able to go and be an influencer and to support their firm in whatever direction they need to be moving in?
I believe there are. You cannot tell law firm A that this is what we're going to do. They might not have the personalities for it or the personality for it. You've got to get under the skin, because otherwise it's not going to work, or it's not going to work for long. And a change is a long-term thing, so you've got to get the nuances right. But there are some pillars, and that's why I felt I could write a book on it, even though every firm is different. And the pillars are, frankly, if you're horrible, you're never going to be an influencer. If you're chaotic, no one's going to put their trust in you. If you promise the world and actually never deliver on what you've said you're going to do, no one is. There are some basic human behaviors where other humans, and frankly, high-performing humans, ambitious humans, confident humans, respect. So that's what I've tried to identify. There's a series of interviews with influenced people. What influenced you? What on the part of your influencers triggered your influenced behaviors? So I've tried to identify all of that. And then on the second part of the two-piece leadership jigsaw, what direction do you influence? Well, there are got to be some basics. Number one, colleagues. You can guess. Common sense tells you what junior lawyers want. Common sense tells you what business support people want from the partners. You've got to get that right. Secondly, come payday, there's going to be a fortune of cash going out that door. We've got to have more than that cash coming in. Compliance and clients, what do they want? So they are actual basics. After that, you can bring in the nuances. It's still remarkable to me, David, that law firms can ask me to help with their 1 year, 3 year, 5 year strategies. I say, well, if you've got an existing strategy document, they send it to me and it's in a lever arch file and it's got appendices and it's got also, and you just think, sorry, where's profit margin? Where's debtor days? Where's making your people great? Where is getting all the work your clients have got? Where is delivering a Bentley service for which we can charge a Bentley price? I mean, you cannot believe, frankly, the state of the business of law. Knowing you, David, you were probably on the call. The Law Society's benchmarking survey launch recently basically showed that law firms in this country are giving away half of everything they do. So the law firm that wants a strategy to grow by 5 or 8 or 10% next year, why don't you want to grow 50% and it's all profit? We've got to start looking at the basics, looking under the bonnet. And this is what I tried to do in The Perfect Partner. Stop wishing that you were the top 200 law firm for intellectual property in the M4 corridor. Sorry, have you looked at your stats? You're giving away half of everything you do. We've got to move away from the showbiz of law. Go behind the curtain. Sometimes we've even got to go under the stage to see what's underpinning law firms. And there's plenty of business consultants, marketers, all these people that can tell you how to make more noise, blah. But the problem is it's all falling, half of it basically is falling through the floorboards. And that is my frustration, and that was what was underpinning my crusade in writing these 3 books ultimately.
I love that you describe it as a crusade, Simon. Of course, there's that wonderful phrase, isn't there? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. That comes to mind. A couple of other things come to mind while you're talking there. One is that traditional structure of law firms, that partnership model, and I think we might have talked about it when we talked about the perfect legal business way back a couple of years ago. In my view, there are lots of occasions where it simply doesn't lend itself to the direction and strategy that you're talking about, because you end up with this whole paralysis by committee challenge, don't you?
I dread to think of the hundreds of partners meetings I've sat in at my firm and other firms over the years, where you're gnawing the table because of the lack of progress. That's been the lack of focus. So here, the 2 problems you get are either a committee that gets nowhere, or multiple committees, and sometimes they're a committee of 1, i.e. partner priorities. What this needs is come together. Let's have a brainstorm. Let's analyze what should we do right before we do tier 2, or if you imagine it as like an onion ring, before we go on to layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. Have we got layer 1 right? Are we delivering a great service every time? Or are files sitting in storage? If we are delivering a great service, are we charging a good price for it? A proper price? Before we go out and win new clients, because our existing clients are happy with the service we're now offering, are we getting all the work our clients have got? Why are employment having marketing meetings when they don't act for any of the clients of the litigation team? Why are private client having marketing meetings and spending a load of money on pay-per-click and bus advert, blah blah, you name it, sponsoring events, when actually everyone that every one of the 500 people who've bought a house through us this year haven't got their affairs in order? Let's get that bit right. And by the by, all these clients we have got, are they paying, or have we just got debtors? It takes a load of people to say, I tell you what, I've got a really good agenda because I'm a high profile lawyer and I'm good at noise and everyone wants me, but to say, I tell you what, I'm going to forego that. I'm going to park that for now. Let's go back to square 1 together as a group of business owners. Let's get under the bonnet and look at the chain of events. Number 1, our clients are dead happy. Number 2, our clients use us for everything. Number 3, every file we open, we make maximum money. And soon, and number 5, our colleagues stay, are made greater, and are telling their friends to come and join us. Till you've got all of that, what is the point in sponsoring the 12:30 at Ascot because it's a property world event?
Ascot will not appreciate that sentiment, I'm sure, Simon.
I know.
But I understand where you're coming from. Let me also query this with you, which is I equate a lot of what happens in the law to the experience that I have, because my father's a GP. You've had remarkable parallels in those 2 sectors over the last 10 or 15 years, because you've gone from that traditional ownership model that you might have had with GPs to the salaried partner model, as you have with law firms, and you've had a dilution of partnership. But the other thing more relevant to what you're talking about here, Simon, is training. And most lawyers become lawyers because they love the law, or they love justice, or whatever it is that they're fighting for. Most GPs, most doctors become doctors because they want to help people. There simply isn't the right level of training to go out to enable leaders in firms to go out and deliver what you're talking about, is there? Or are you seeing that that's changing?
I don't believe it exists. Today, I could talk to a room full of lawyers and just say, and I could say to them, what's the gross margin of your team? And I suspect a large number of lawyers in that room would not know what I was talking about. But how can you not know the gross margin of your team? Because the beginning of any journey for a law firm is how much billing is left over in a team once
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
billing is left over in a team once a team have been paid. How can you not know that? It's an absolute business fundamental. And outside of the law, everybody is obsessed with their gross margin. We're more interested in how much we've billed. Well, that doesn't tell you how much is left over after the team who've done the billing have been paid. You might have billed £1 million, but if the team's cost £1 million in salaries, there's nothing left over for the next load of snouts in the trough called overheads. Never mind a bit where there's only left over for the owners. It's a fundamental business. If you said to anyone out there, that people who sell Coke or shoes, what's your gross margin? They know, because they've designed their whole business around making sure enough is left over after they've paid for what they've sold. We just don't seem to think that's important. And the other thing is, the gross margin in a law firm, it's founded on bills sent out. Okay, you tiny minority do know what your gross margin is. What are your debtor days? Because those bills don't count. In fact, they're hurting you in multiple ways until they're paid. So again, we're not yet obsessed with profit and cash.
Going back to what you were saying about Ascot and sponsorship and spend and all those kinds of things, and you quite rightly point out there's a lot of effort and money expended by firms on marketing. But I sense, Simon, that you think that some of that should either be redirected or they need to sort of box a bit more cleverly in terms of how they spend their money.
I take my hat off to marketing people at law firms. They're working very hard to do what has been asked of them, but typically they've got an uphill battle because the law firm has given them very little in the way of differentiators. And I repeatedly hear marketing people say, there's not a lot, what can we say? I mean, literally, what can you say if you haven't got your differentiators in place? And that's the very essence of my first book, which is why there's a lemon on the front. And I'll leave people to read the book, because that's all about building your differentiators. So poor marketing people, what can they do? Whether they're internal or external, what can you do? Your noise is the same as everyone else's noise. The next issue that marketing people have got for me in law firms is they're getting the phone to ring. Only a small percentage of that turns into money for the law firm. So my plea to law firms and their marketing people is, let's work together to make sure that 100% of that turns into money. It's either not getting dealt with, it's not getting converted, it's getting converted at a low price, it's going into storage rather than being worked on because the team structures aren't right, the pricing's not right, there's discounting at multiple occasions, and then the bills aren't being paid quickly. It's not actually helping, that marketing's not actually helping the law firm. So for me, get the lawyer behaviours right that I talk about in my books, the financial leg of the stool, but don't miss the main event, law firm growth. There's a load of low-hanging fruit that a lot of marketing doesn't aim at. It's out there looking at high altitude fruit that just wants the cheapest price. We're missing our existing clients. 007, as I call it. Get to matter 7 for your clients before you get a new matter 1. Matter 1, all they want is the cheapest price. Deliver an amazing service, communicate. Marketing's real power comes in communication and relationship development with existing clientele. That's what I would focus on first.
We've touched in the course of the discussion, and we're fast coming towards the end of the time we have, Simon, but we've touched in the course of the discussion about the various kind of people that you're trying to communicate to. So legal business, perfect lawyers, perfect partners. I mean, who, I guess, should read your books in your view?
I tell you what, I wrote this book. I had no expectations. I had no idea what would happen. I've sold 5,000 books in 52 countries. It
Wow.
has just gone ballistic. So what does that tell you? And the books have been sold because someone read it, and then someone else at that firm bought it. And I can track this, and I've watched the orders come in. I think, oh my goodness, here we go again. Someone said you've got to read this book. It tells me that it's filling a gap. And the number of people say to me, and I mean this, and it's in the hundreds, Simon, did you write that book about my firm? And of course I didn't, but all law firms are literally the same. So I think, who should write it? Who should read it? All law firms. Don't think you're different, because we're not. And who in a law firm should read it? Well, I tell you what, I got a photograph for one of the biggest Australasian law firms that there is. So we're talking tens of millions turnover. He sent me a picture yesterday of him reading The Perfect Partner on a plane, just saying, this is powerful stuff, Simon. Again, who should read The Perfect Partner? Partners and people who want to be partners. And that's not just lawyers, it's business support people more and more, which I love. If you want to find out what's missing in your law firm, read that book. Everyone. It's an education. And I tell you what, my biggest regret is these books weren't available when I started off, because my goodness, there's 1,000 lessons in here, that many of which were really painful for me.
I'm going to finish by asking you about the dynamics of the three books and how they fit together, because can you read one without the other? Are they standalone? Do you need to read them all in tandem? How do they fit together, Simon? And is there an order that they should be read in? I mean, we hear about all these films that you should watch in a particular order, or books that you should read in a particular order. Tell me about the dynamics of the three books.
Great question. I've designed them so that each is freestanding, but some areas are explored more in the various books. Definitely a trilogy. It's not three disconnected books. They flow, and anyone reading them can see the journey I went on as suddenly the cold light of day came screaming through my window, which was, this is all well and good, but it's down to the partners. If you're a young lawyer, you are entitled to ask yourself, have I got the right partners above me? Because if I haven't, my career's going to stall and I'm in the wrong place. So it's not all about partners. It's about what partners need to make young lawyers great. So you can really see the journey I went on. And it's literally blue and yellow makes green. And that's the order that I wrote them in. And it's the order my thinking went in. It all stacks up. And a number of people have said to me, oh my God, Sam, that is the divine trilogy, because I see how it all came together.
I wonder if there's a Star Wars-esque trilogy or journey here that you might well go on. There are three further books that might be prequels to these and more that come after. But thanks so much for joining the podcast, sharing your insight. The Perfect Partner, and in fact all of the books, are available on your website, aren't they? McCrum.legal.
That's it, McCrum.legal.
Thank you so much for joining the podcast, Simon, and for sharing your insight. It's been an absolute joy to have you on.
And thank you for having me again, David.
The Today's Conveyancer podcast is available on your preferred podcast provider. It's also available on todaysconveyancer.co.uk. My thanks to Simon. Thank you as ever for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
You're listening to the Today's Conveyancer podcast, the leading source of information for residential property lawyers in England and Wales. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up to our free newsletter at todaysconveyancer.co.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter.